Just remember the stuff presented by this creepy bear is from the Evolution 101 website, written by the Understanding Evolution team. Commentary by Rent-A-Friend2000, that's me!
What about fitness?
Hey, I did push-ups and sit-ups yesterday. 12 of each!
Biologists use the word fitness to describe how good a particular genotype is at leaving offspring in the next generation relative to how good other genotypes are at it. So if brown beetles consistently leave more offspring than green beetles because of their color, you'd say that the brown beetles had a higher fitness. The brown beetles have a greater fitness relative to the green beetles.
Editor's note. Chuck Norris has a greater fitness relative to everything else on Earth!
Of course, fitness is a relative thing. A genotype's fitness depends on the environment in which the organism lives. The fittest genotype during an ice age, for example, is probably not the fittest genotype once the ice age is over.
These guys at Berkeley have obviously never been to Illinois. Anything that was the fittest in the ice age would still be the fittest in a Chicago winter. Unless it froze to death. In order to be successful in an evolutionary sense, they need to be alive, step 1, and have statistically more offspring than others, step 2. And here you are all thinking fit meant smart or big or strong. Nope. Fit means not dead, and having lots of kids. I guess Tribbles may be the fittest thing in the galaxy. Survival of the fittest is the mantra which, on this view, turned T-Rex into chickens. So somehow, chickens are more fit than T-Rex. If that doesn't make you question evolution, I don't know what will. Biblical creationism doesn't disagree with this concept. Surely any individual which can live and have offspring will, by default, live and have offspring. You're not going to find a lot of Bible thumpers arguing with that. On the other hand, this is not evolution. When the less fit die, the traits which make them less fit die with them. This is a reduction of information in the population's genes. That won't turn bacteria into cabbages and wolves. That will turn a diverse population into a less diverse population. If you can prove that losing genetic diversity will turn bacteria into cabbages and wolves, then send the kids at the Understanding Evolution team an email, because while I know they already believe it, I'll bet they'd love to find out how it works.
Fitness is a handy concept because it lumps everything that matters to natural selection, survival, mate finding, reproduction, into one idea. The fittest individual is not necessarily the strongest, fastest, or biggest.
I think Bill Gates already knows this. Nerd power!
A genotype's fitness includes its ability to survive, find a mate, produce offspring, and ultimately leave its genes in the next generation. Caring for your offspring, above left, and producing thousands of young, many of whom won't survive, above right, and sporting fancy feathers that attract females, left, are a burden to the health and survival of the parent. These strategies do, however, increase fitness because they help the parents get more of their offspring into the next generation. It might be tempting to think of natural selection acting exclusively on survival ability, but, as the concept of fitness shows, that's only half the story. When natural selection acts on mate finding and reproductive behavior, biologists call it sexual selection.
There goes my PG rating again. Ah well. I guess since the birds do it, bees do it, even monkeys in the trees do it, let's do it! Let's discuss natural selection acting on mate finding and reproductive behavior! The paragraph above is supposed to convince us that certain traits evolve because of mating. A female prefers long feathers, so the male evolves long feathers. But suppose a female prefers long feathers, but the males don't have them. If she decides not to mate because they don't have what she likes, the mutation which caused those feelings die with her. On the other hand, if the males have long feathers but she doesn't prefer them, she'll mate with the short-feathered brothers and the long feather genes go away. The only way to get a peacock is if he has fabulous plumage and she prefers it within the same generation and the same population, which is what you would get as a result of creation by God on a Thursday, for example. Also, there is the fact that the peacock, while the height of fashion, doesn't seem to be adapted for self-defense. It seems that natural selection favors the males who are less likely to survive. Hey, someone want to tell me how birds with feathers that don't attract every predator within 100 miles somehow are less fit than the NBC logo over here? And even if we can do a natural selection bait and switch and pretend natural selection somehow creates the fabu plumage, that pales in comparison to the problem which arises when you try to figure out how asexual animals became sexual animals in the first place. When the first female evolved, was the male already there waiting for her? And why would natural selection choose a complex, two-member system instead of the one-member split like it had, on this view, for 99% of the history of life? You don't see male and female bacteria, and supposedly, they ruled the Earth for 3 billion years. Darwin tries to point to the fact that there is a great advantage to having a two-parent system. It allows for genetic shuffling, and thus allows for weak genes or harmful mutations to get weeded out or covered up. He likes to distract you with facts every now and then. But the advantage it offers now does nothing to explain how it came about in the first place. You can't explain the invention of the driver's side airbag by spouting statistics on how many drivers it saves. It's not like bacteria gathered and formed committees to plan this out in advance. There was no Precambrian Imagineer team of bacteria. Or was there?
Okay, group, listen up. What we're going for in Phase 1 is the ability for a bunch of us to merge together into a single unit. One big organism with one set of genes for all of us. That sounds difficult. Not impossible there, Phil, but it's got to be done so we can reach Phase 2. What's Phase 2? We're going to get those multicellular organisms to develop specialized organs which will create haploids. What's a haploid? It's a cell that carries only half of the genes which are needed to make the organism. Why are we going to do that? Because in Phase 2 Part B we will make a completely different yet compatible organism which is making haploids which can join up with the first one's haploids and make a full set of genes. Not to beat a dead horse here, Bob, but why we want to do that? Because if an organism has the ability to swap genes with another, the shuffling of genes will make for a greater diversity in the population, and natural selection will naturally select for an organism which can add diversity into its population. But until we get both halves of the system working, how are we going to keep natural selection from selecting this whole shebang out? Well, that's part of what this committee needs to figure out. Seems unlikely. Oh yeah, sure does. Not only that, but if all this gains us is the ability to shuffle the old genes in the population, isn't this a waste of time? What you mean there, Phil? We're bacteria, Bob. We can already do that. Can we? Sure. Some of us hand out genes like candy at a parade. Others can write new genes to help us survive in difficult environments. Oh, like your cousin Nylonase. You betcha. Also, the whole reason viruses exist is to give us genes we don't already have so we all don't look exactly alike. Well, all of that might be true, but this plan will be far bigger and more complex. How long do you suppose before we have a working prototype? A few million years? 10 million tops? As long as we can break to watch hockey, I'm in.
And after lots of meetings, the plans were implemented so efficiently that the result is still known as the Cambrian explosion. Ha ha! I'm kidding, of course. Bacteria planning ahead is a silly idea. Uncle Chuck assures us that the insurmountable leaps in engineering that took single cells into complex multi-celled life with a diversity of different kinds of cells, all coded for in one collection of chromosomes, and the organs to produce compatible haploids, all came about with no planning or guidance whatsoever. Because, somehow, that's less silly and improbable. Join next time for more. Hey! Thanks for liking and subscribing and for sharing this on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, Google+, and any other way you can. Thanks for any comments or emails you care to send. And thanks for letting me be your rental friend. Hey!